One of the memories I have of my grandparents, who were married over 72 years, was my grandmother saying sometimes under her breath or after my grandpa would leave the room, "He's going to be so surprised." And I think maybe because he was a doer, active farmer by trade, drove a truck for Pepsi for a while. He was a go-getter, and I think maybe sometimes got frustrated with other people and would sometimes complain to her about them and maybe sometimes make some judgments or things. And I think her statement, "He's going to be so surprised," was both hopeful because she was expecting him to make it to heaven and to be so surprised by what God has in store for all of us. And maybe for some of those that he wasn't so sure about, as we hear in the kingdom of God being wide open, and yet also Jesus is challenged that there's this narrow door. And that narrow door is not restrictive as much as focused. And that door is Jesus himself. That's our door. He is the way. So we recognize that it's somehow he's inviting us to see that this love that he has is for all, and yet ultimately needs to be guided through him and to be distanced from anything that would be inconsistent with what his calling was. And I remember one time another story of a bishop at the ordination of some new priests said, "I'm not going to ask you, are you strong enough to be a priest? My question is, are you weak enough?" Weak enough, he said. And that sounds a little bit like this of those who would be first and last, because I guess you might assume that priests would get it, would have their lives in such a way that would be welcoming and open and receiving everything that God would want them to do. And I sense that bishop was trying to make sure that door was open in their hearts to receive what God was really asking them to do, rather than some sort of privilege or something that would put them up on a pedestal. Strong, are you weak enough? And I sense that that's maybe where my grandmother was, a prayerful, holy lady. She could see some things that my grandpa couldn't at that moment, but had the desire that he would one day see and be surprised perhaps at how God was working in ways that seem strange or mysterious to him. So we ask the Lord today to help us to trust him and to entrust ourselves to him as we surrender to allowing him to do what he can only do for us, as he is the way to the kingdom. Might we be faithful to him. Might we see what he sees and follow where he leads, so that we won't have to be worried about the gnashing and grinding of teeth as much as how we might help other people to enter that door, how we might be a part of the way as Christians, the title itself calls us to. So we have that invitation today. Might we be faithful, and Lord, please help us to go through you, our door to the kingdom.